Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Demystifying Digital webinar. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Alexander Radchenko, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Rodeni AG, a Switzerland-based consultancy firm. And we are the organizer, and today we are the host of the Demystifying Digital, which is the series of free webinars for business stakeholders dedicated to disruptive technologies and modern techniques. So effectively anything from a technology side that can help business to gain competitive advantages and build a better internal efficiency. And today we have a webinar dedicated to data and analytics and how it can drive the modern organization. We are living in pretty interesting time, and in this time of high level of uncertainty and high degree of turbulence, it is very important to make thoughtful decisions. And thoughtful decisions, for me personally, is something based on facts, first of all. And when we are talking about facts, we are talking data in many ways. So the big data and data analytics, this is definitely not something new. It's something that's been around for decades. But at the same time, there are still lots of organizations that collect lots of data, but they don't really know and don't have experience on how to get value out of this data and transform that into something meaningful and guide the decisions and the strategy and execution and performance of the organizations. And our keynote speaker today is Alexey Litvin, Chief Executive Officer of a software consultancy called GreenM. The beauty of the GreenM as a company when we talk about data analytics is that this is the one and only core competence. Those people talk data and nothing else.
Thanks, Alexander, for organizing this series of webinars, and hi everyone on the video today. I'm really proud to be opening this series of webinar and talking about one of the hottest topics on the market right now. Again, I'm really excited to share my company experience working with the data. So my journey starts about 15 years ago. I think that was about the time then people start to use the catchphrase calling data is the new oil. And since that time, the people and the technology really make it transform to understanding that really the most valuable resource on the earth is not the oil anymore, it's the data. And I clearly believe that's true. And when 6 years ago I started my own company, GreenM, my focus was and is on helping our partners to turn this data into actionable insights. And on this journey, you wish every organization can see how much hidden value is in the data they already collect and how much people and process can help to identify that this competitive advantage that we're all looking for on the market. So that's what I'm going to talk today. And I share my perspective and my experience and case studies and examples on that. But before I start, let me also shout out our data engineering community that we started 3 years ago. It's called Data Monsters. And we use this Data Monsters platform to share some on-hand experience working with the data projects. And we just had our first international event that's currently available on our YouTube channel. So check it out, Data Monsters YouTube channel. We'll do more of those engineering type events next year. In your organization, I think every organization have a really clear understanding of those 4 V's. And the first one is the data growth, right? The volume of data. You need to understand how many you have right now, how much you will see in the next couple of years. That's the foundation for you to scale going forward, right? To understand what data you have and how much of this data you will have in the next couple of years. The next one is the variety of data. The data comes in different forms, right? And 10 years ago, we all expect data to be columnar, right? It comes in the table format, in the columns and rows. You can consume. You have like a SQL query direct statement there. But right now, you mostly working with unstructured data. You get images, you get logs, you get all sorts of audio. So lots of types of data that is not structured in a way that it's a table. And you need to kind of understand where you are, how much of the data, what variety of data you have. And then when you start to build your data platform underneath, you want to really get out of this unstructured format and make it available for further consumption, right? You want to transform it. You maybe want to do natural language processing. You want to have image recognition. Just have this structured element attached to your unstructured data. So number 2 is the variety. When you go further, you get to number 3, which is the velocity of data. And this is where I get this alert at time to data to be real time, right? It's not, and it's also not about streaming your data in to your organization, consuming the data real time, but it's also how you stream this data out. So when I'm a customer, get a notification, I want to get it right now, right? If my flight is delayed, I want to see it now, not like in 2 hours, and not something I want to go back and search myself. So that part is really important. And the fourth V that we always discuss in this 4V concept is the veracity of data. And that was something that's kind of appeared a little bit later in the process. People start to talk about 3V, 4V. The fourth V is the veracity of data. So some information is questionable. You want to question that. You want to say how trustworthy this data. Is it sent according to specification that's in there? What you expect from this data is that actually the information and format is being used. And this is also important. That's something that's on your ingestion side of your data pipelines to make sure you know and check that information that's coming is in the format, it's from trustworthy source, etc. And especially in different markets, like when you use a lot of unstructured data, like healthcare, for example, you need to make sure that you're able to analyze that and also, again, convert it to structured format that can be used going forward. When I talk about the data and this 4V concept, I think it's really the most important to recognize the fifth V, the one that we all, going to these events, the one that we really trying to, build our teams, the one that we discuss internally, how we can get the value of the data that we have right now, right? So we're looking for this competitive advantage. We'd like to reduce costs. We'd like to improve our efficiency as a company. And we look how data can be, how can we bring this value from the data we have. Only 73% of businesses say that it's challenging to push big data initiatives. And it's not like the easiest thing right now to adopt this big data and AI trend. And when you look even further and say like, why it is a challenge, it's not the technology that really making this a big impact of organizations trying to achieve this competitive advantage. It's the people and process and those are the obstacles to achieve those goals. So again, you're not alone on this journey. There's just 25% of organizations who believe they have this competitive advantage. And I believe we certainly can be in this 25% part of organizations.
From the organizational standpoint, many companies, they're trying to address this challenge of lacking this data culture or maybe lack of alignment between the technology and the business need in terms of collecting and using the data in a proper way by introducing new organizations or inside of their companies or introducing new roles. And the one that is getting more and more popular is what's normally called Chief Data Officer. What are your thoughts on that? Does it make any sense to say, okay, we were working for decades like a front office and back office, right? Or profit centers and cost centers, and we have a regional structure and whatever department we have. But now We need a guy who is in charge of the data, and he is that person who will like bring this culture and foster this culture in organization, make sure that we actually benefiting from the data we have.
Yeah, great question. Thanks. I think so for me, if organization appoint the CDO role, the Chief Data Officer, first of all, for me, it means like organization really understand that data is an asset. It has to be treated in the same like level, chief level of organizations. But whether this is this person will succeed, I think it depends on the people and process that he may establish inside the organization. If this CDO is only running their own data organization as a separate unit inside the big organization, I think they will have the same problems that other organizations have, and just have a different chief in charge of that. So I think some of the like researches that I saw around the CDO roles, it also says like maybe like 25%, 30% of those CDOs roles are really help organization to drive forward, but another 70% struggle. And it's also a big struggle for the CDOs is a turnover inside the organization. So when they try to teach a small department and then people are gone, you kind of start from scratch. So I think the CDO role is important, but it's not just the role that will push organization forward. It's a process that's underneath and how you spread this knowledge inside the organization.
Okay, and just very practical question. So if we as an organization, we do have a chief digital officer, is this person is it somebody who is represent the technology world, or this is more process or a business person? Because in my understanding, this role is about like connecting dots pretty much, right? So this is not just about the technology, because otherwise we just invent yet another CTO or chief information officer in the company, just with a narrow scope, right? So, well, finally we have more resources to think about data, but we know that introducing new organizational rules to an organization not necessarily healthy for the company, and not necessarily bringing any tangible outcomes out of that. But at the same time, probably this person cannot be 100% like a business person or operational or a process person. So what's your view on that?
No, I fully agree. I think it's not the CTO style or like an architect of a data platform. That's a different role. That's the role of this person is really able to translate the strategy that is a part of the company, defined by chief executive officer, defined by all the stakeholders, and move this knowledge down. He can be the person to define how organization will use the data going forward, how it's going to scale, which part of the process is going to be used, how the knowledge is going to transfer. So he works with a lot of people and departments to share that and help executing. But I agree, it's not like a technical role. It's not someone who just trying to build the data pipeline. That's more of the person connecting the dots. I think I want to start here that there's no two similar organizations. You need to really understand your requirements are unique. Your case are unique, and it's not easy, right? Otherwise, everybody will do that to be successful. So this is always specific to your business, and there's no silver bullet or a single data source, a single technology to help address all your needs. So it's a process, and this is also the process that really focusing on people inside the organization and how you understand the information you collect, information that you're trying to get. You also think about two areas to really be successful with your initiative. There is really a demand from both sides, and from inside the organization, you trying to provide the self-service analytics to every department. You drive these expectations for maybe more efficient operations. You want to focus on cost reduction inside your department, and they really want to build a new product to help their department pay allocations. You want to maybe segment your customers and really understand how the customers are using your products, how the customers, where they are in this customer journey, and you definitely want to automate some of these workflows. There's a lot of expectation on the internal side, and at the same time, there's a lot of expectation on the consumer side, right? We are in this personalized world. We all use our like Netflix. We all have this YouTube recommendations part of services, all the products around. We have as a consumer expectation of how those systems will behave, and it's really obvious when those systems are not behaving the way we expect. So we're trying to maybe find another product that do it better. Also important aspect is the vendors that use your information and have also expectation from how the information is being moved outside of your system to help those vendors to really use this information for the follow-up services.
If you look at this slide, external drivers, that's all clear, right? It's competition, it's our customers, they want more. At the same time, there's certain pressure, let me put this way, from investors and owners. They always want us to be more efficient, performing, and competitive. That's all understood. The interesting thing, and this is something I can observe over the course of the last several years, it's an internal driver when actually employees of the organization, they are one of the driving forces to the companies to change and be more not just technology driven but data driven in many ways. What do I mean here? We as a consumers of multiple digital services nowadays, and by the way, the great examples with Netflix, Amazon, we're all using it. We're using all the modern techniques of the payments. I don't use the cash anymore. I'm never buying tickets other than through the app and wherever. So as a consumers, we are the way more advanced users of the modern data technology. And when we come into our workplace at our companies, we not always see it happening in our own company. And to a certain extent, we are way ahead of our employers in adopting data-driven technologies. Do you see that something is happening? And is there really a push from inside of the organization, from the people working in trenches, that they're putting on their management and the leadership of organization to say, look, we are badly behind. We have to do something like that because I can live completely in this digital data-driven world myself. And when I'm getting back to my workplace, I still have to deal with millions of Excel spreadsheets, which I don't like.
Yes, yeah, I think that's correct. And those like internal drivers, if you don't really work with those and understand and have the plan or technology to self-serve your internal organization, you just see this turnover happen, right? People go to some more modern organization, they can use information. And just take an example of a sales side, right? When I work, I open up my phone call and I call to my clients and partners, but I really want to get all the points of information about how they're using my system, what products they use, what features they use, where they are on the licenses side. I want to get all this notification to be much better and much more prepared when I have my next conversation with the client. And if I don't have this information available for me, I'm concerned. Like I'm lost. I trying to, ask this question from the client, and the client like, oh, really, you're not have all this information available for you? So I agree. I think this would lead to people just leaving those organizations and look for the places that can serve this information back to them and make them more efficient. I was trying to build this concept with an example of the human resource department or the function of human resource in the organizations. So first, a lot of human resource organizations still do a lot of ad hoc analysis of data. It's often siloed. You work on spotting insights here and there. And when also the company have lots of locations, one more challenge comes is the absence of the standardized approach to metrics and also lack of the transparency and the context for the department. And when you start talking about the framework for your data initiatives, for your data transformation, it's all starts with a scope goal. So this is number one. And for human resource example, you can find it hard to really understand how HR practices integrated with your business strategy, and it may not have measurements of the impacts of those programs and investment in people that you have. So you define this use case for your data, we're talking this for human resource department. Then you start with accessing the information sources that you have. Again, as a base for this people analytics, we have data from our human resource information system, right? We have demographics, payments, benefits, time offs. We have some business data, performance of the person. We get engagement data, conversations like on Slack or your employee portal. We get employee surveys, employee feedback, maybe insurance coverage and status. So lots of information that we currently collect. We just really assess what we have. And we also have, for maybe bigger scale organizations, you can analyze additional data, right? The census data, your local community data, COVID test data, contact tracing, immunization data. So you assess what information you collect as a company, how you want to extend that with external sources. Then you go to number three. And this is once the data is defined, you start to think on the inputs that is required to make decisions on what actions are taken when those decisions are made. So you model this insights. So what will you do when things happen? So in the chart industry, we have a lot of standard KPIs, like the turnover, average time before promotion, brand, like net promoter score. And that allows executives to really see a broad picture. But you also can introduce other high-level metrics to control that, things like staff diversity, work-life balance, especially in this remote condition. That's really key and really important. How you reskill your people inside the organization. So you can go on this personal level and also monitor the company targets that really translate into individual development plans execution. And what you also want to do, you want to predict, right? You want to see further and enable your human resource department to forecast the impact of some new policies on people well-being and happiness, and really see this bottom line performance to prevent this employee turnover. And that's a big issue in the current year, especially again with a lot of people working remote. So you model your insights, what you can get, and now this what we call is like role-oriented workflows. You can go beyond just the analysis part, but you start integrating that with another system to receive information as soon as possible and be able to react on them. So turning that into real action. And number five, just finishing on that, is to plan how this initiative will be introduced. So which roles you need to fulfill in advance, right? You need to accept those. And you also start this education process. I talk about people, right? You need to plan this implementation. You have a clear feedback channel to receive this information back from the employees. So this is really focusing on the people, how you adopt it, how you scale it throughout your organizations. And it's also sit on two big blocks. So first, when you have this clear vision of information and these action flows, you can really find, it's easy to find the right technology and design your infrastructure. When you ask, your partners to help you build a data platform, you start first with answering those questions to the pipeline, and then you have this really clear vision and clear ability to find technology and infrastructure to support your growth, to support those use cases. And on each stage of the process, your engineering team is kind of refining and adjusting the data platform, but it's kind of the same stack that feed all 5 stages of the process and allows you to keep innovating with some new use cases and new workflows. And another thing that sits below that is, any changes that you introduce, you need to find in advance your promoters, your educators in the company, the advocates of the new process, and you also need to welcome the idea. Right? As an organization, you need to be ready. It may be a chief data officer to help connect the dots. It can be people from different departments to really have a buy-in and help transition their departments to use the data and utilize the data in a full format. And this is a repetitive process, not like one iteration you do it and then you forget about it, right? You keep doing that anytime, with any additional feedback, kind of like in this agile iterational model. And when you have this picture, when you have this data platform, what it enables you to do, you get this like in-time, real-time notification, but you also have this information available for your human resource department. In this example, to make this data-driven decision. So you can attract more talent, you can manage it better, you can retain employers, and just in general improve your ROI and help leaders of your organizations to make decisions to create better environments using the data you have in hands already. And for the analytics part, again, it's easy to build when you have this platform underneath. And then you focus on really clear visualization that we're trying to go beyond just like reports, this traditional dashboards, and we try to contextualize information and really prescribe next set of actions. So you use things like forecasting things, the trend line and benchmarking, and focusing on particular personal performance, not just trying to get a holistic view of everything. So that's I think where the advanced analytics approach will go. Just try to identify how to personalize information for you and give you a set of options to move forward. And I'll touch base a bit later on that, but this is the key. I think you need to build this really clear visualization, and that helps promote your data platform inside and outside as well. When you look to the trends and we look on where things are in terms of the data platforms, I want to quickly go through a couple of approaches on the architecture side of the data platforms as well. So you first start with where we've all been, right? We've been in the like 35 years ago, 40 years ago, there's the first concept, the concept of data warehouse. It was really intended to provide this model of how data is flowed from your operational storages to like end users and visualization. You build this like data marts, you have those like chunky ETLs to run it. And a lot of modern enterprises have right now they deal with more unstructured data. So data warehouse is good for structured data. You have tables you feed in, but it's more than 90% data is currently being unstructured. So, and we also have data with high variety, velocity, different volumes of data on different parts. So data warehouses are not really suited for many of these use cases, and certainly they're not the most cost efficient for those type of use cases. So, with hard drives become more cheaper, about 10 years ago, companies start to realize, they start to collect large amounts of data from many different sources. And, the architects start to envision this new single system that houses all the data from many different analytics products. And, again, about a decade ago, the companies begin to build those data lakes. So data lakes is this repository for all data in different formats. It's really suitable for storing data, but with the approach of data lakes, this really lacks some of the critical functionalities and features. Data lakes are not supporting transactions. They do not enforce this data quality when you pull the data in, and they also lack some of the consistency, like isolation. It kind of makes it almost impossible to mix reads and the paths and doing the batch processing and streaming jobs at the same time. And when people start trying to find this flexible high performance systems, you can't kind of do it in this one data lake approach. So what is happening that it's trying to use those multiple systems. You have your data lake. You put your information underneath. You have a couple of data warehouses that, for a lot of specialized systems, your streaming system is specialized. Your time series, you have graph database, you have image processing, you have some AI machine learning pipeline in here. And it's definitely have this multitude of systems that's in a lot of enterprises right now, it introduced complexity, first of all, but even maybe more importantly, it introduced a lot of delays of when can I use the data, how can I manipulate with data, when I move or copy the data between different systems. And this is where you cannot really use this competitive advantage. You need to have your data in the storage available for any additional workloads you have. So what's happening right now instead, we start to see this new system starting to emerge, and that's something that we are building with our clients. It's trying to address those limitations, and it's being called the Lakehouse. So Lakehouse is this new paradigm where it tried to combine those best elements from the data lakes and the data warehouses. It's really enabled by, it's a new system design. It's implementing the similar data structures and data management features that's available in data warehouse, but it's doing it directly on the local storage that's used for data lake. So they have this layer that normalized and structured the data, including data like data catalogs, the metadata, and so everybody can start to use it immediately, right? You can connect to Lakehouse like it's your database. So it supports SQL-like interfaces for it, and basically you can think of it as what you get if you had to redesign your data warehouse in the modern world, but now you have this cheap and highly reliable storage like object stores that's available. And I'll try to get a couple of examples from my practice, from the work we've done for our partners, to kind of utilize this data. And these days technology really evolves fast, right? Systems become legacy ones pretty soon, with all the relevant risk, which your support expands, grow, your business grow. You have more limitation around how your business can grow. So this couple of examples will really focusing on increase the data maturity inside the organizations and kind of build this next level products for them. I'll start with the company NFC Health. It helps hospitals to really understand what is the patient experience is in the hospitals and help in improving the care. So really want to see, like, was it a good experience inside the hospital, what happens. And when the company partnered with us, they've been really in the process of adjusting your business strategy, refocusing on the digital solutions. So it was a lot of paper-based surveying type before we come, and they're trying to streamline that with patient surveying, optimizing the cost, and also introduce some of the modern features like AI, machine learning, getting some more insights, using some more advanced natural language processing for them. And the idea they had, and then we joined kind of be working on that, is to create this one experience platform that enable organizations with this instant knowledge, right? What matters for this person? How can I access information right away? How can I monitor and get notification in place? And along with that, the company really wanted to enable this in-house innovation, right? Research and data science team, they need to have information, need to have the data available right away. So we stepped in and we kind of helped to strengthen that company R&D team with our technology expertise in data and visualization. So we get a lot of the information in the single source of truth. We use AWS for the platform that help us. We implement this governance approach. So now it's like really easy to extract the data, we clean it up, we make it available, we mask a lot of data, but we not ruin the statistics analysis so you can benchmark between the companies and between locations. And we also enable this internally, so every user, like analyst groups, able to use this information to analyze their customer data and also help their customers with some custom analytics as well. So they don't need IT guy to extract the data and then manipulate that in Excel. You just use directly the data available in the system to operate with them and then share reports with their clients. So again, our goal was really to constantly improve and adapt the technologies. We scale the system from a 0 user from first client to more than 60,000 users right now and almost like 10,000 users daily. And it's really allowing for rapid growth. The security aspect is important there. Ability to subscribe to all the reports and all the information is available there. So lots of this capability has been built over the course of our engagement with the customer. So now we have this new platform. It's proven to be successful. It keeps growing like 20-30% year over year. And a lot of the existing customers has been brought to this new system. Another important part of the work we've been doing is, and are doing with the NFC was, in addition to just traditional visualization, we're trying to get some more like data storytelling, especially for people who are not known for being analysts, right? So, and one of the best example is our like doctors, the providers in the hospitals. So they're not the people who will go and kind of dig into the lot of analytics. They want to have it like available for them, clear and visual on the mobile phone. So we automate a lot of these workflows and really customize experience per single user. So that really support the trend to have it like on demand and really have this context on the palm of the doctors, like how I succeeded last month, like where my organization is, what is my benchmark, am I on top of my benchmark, what are those commands that's been left by the patients about my experience, so how can I improve? So it's really contextualized, it's really role-oriented, it's really person-oriented. So that's another area we're really focusing on, how to get this focused experience and how to use technology and information available to make it really person-specific, make it provider-specific in this example. Just want to reiterate on three things that, in my opinion, are the key to successfully transform the business in a digital era and start to use data as a key asset. First, you analyze information you have in your organization, you understand the data you have, you define your strategy, how you operate with this data throughout your organizations, and you also focus on people. You're going to be, those people are going to be driver of this change. Number two, you don't set up plans for like 15 years ahead. You focus on a quick win, one organization, one department, one product to utilize the data. When you got this buy-in, it will be much easier for you to move forward in general as an organization. And number three, you need to be ready for the future. You need to understand the market, understand the overall trend, and you need to build a data platform that is able to be ready to scale up.